Welcome to Meda's Bridge. Train and learn for better tomorrow. Let us learn Python basics. In today's agenda, we are going to walk through with you a sample program and few takeaways: identifier, validity and invalidity, how to check validity of identifiers, keywords, namespace, whitespace, indentation, comments, basic data types, typecast, collections. Without further delay, let us get started. Here is my first sample program. To calculate simple interest, we need three inputs: principal, time period, rate of interest. My intention here not to show how to write program. However, there are few takeaways. For code readability, we can add single line comments or multi-line comments. Comments are not executable statements. Interpreter reads it and ignores them. We can add comments only for our reading and understanding of code snippet. Input is an inbuilt Python function which will read user inputs from keyboard and assigns to variable. Input reads user inputs and strings are numeric strings. So we need to convert them numeric. Let us say string to int or string to float. Print is a function used to redirect output onto screen or console. Input and output are known as IO statements. After executing above program, we shall follow output as shown here. We shall see identifiers. Identifier is a name used to identify variable, function, class, module or objects. Here is an example for identifier. Var num is an identifier which holds 10. It's an integer value. So var num is called integer variable. Rules for creating identifier. Identifier should start with alphabet character or underscore. Identifier can be a combination of uppercase A to Z or lowercase a to z or number 0 to 9 or underscore. Reserved keywords cannot be used as an identifiers. Identifier should not contain white space. Cannot be used special symbols like identifiers are case sensitive. Uppercase number or lowercase number are different variable names. Widely used as in conventions, camel case, the first letter of each word is capitalized, but the first letter of the identifier is lowercase. We shall look into valid and invalid identifiers. Valid identifiers and invalid identifiers. For example, name 25 and 25 name. Both are different. 25 name is an invalid identifier. The reason, identifier should start with alphabet characters or underscore. Here it started with 25, so it is invalid. Coming to the next example, the name underscore 1 and dollar name. Dollar name is an invalid identifier. The reason, cannot use special symbols. And the next example, 999. It is an invalid identifier. The identifier should start with alphabet character or underscore only. And continue is another example. Desired keywords cannot be used as an identifier. Let us look into identifier validity check. IsIdentifier is a Python function used to check whether a string is a valid identifier or not. The function returns true if the string is valid identifier, else returns false. Here are the few examples. ABCD is a string. It checks with the is identifier, it gives true because identifier should start with alphabet, character or underscore. Next, $name gives false because cannot use special symbols like ampersand and dollar. Similarly, we have few more. Let us look into reserved keywords. Reserved keywords cannot be used as in identifiers or variables. All the Python reserved keywords contain lowercase letters only. In order to print keywords list, use keyword.kw list. Now coming to namespace and scope. A namespace is a collection of names used to store the values of variables. It allows us to use the same name for different variables without causing any conflicts or confusion. Python namespace has local, global, built-in. Local limits to functions, global limits to module, built-in exists as long as interpreter run. Built-in namespace containing all the built-in names and is created when we start the Python interpreter. Let us look into local and global variables. Here is the program. I declared global variable and local variable. Local variable I declared inside the function and global variable I declared outside of the function. When I try to access the local variable and global variable inside the local function, I get the output. If I try to access the global variable and local variable outside the function, I could only get global variable but not local variable. Here is the output. Because the variables defined inside the function is known as local and scope is limited to that function and cannot be accessed outside of that function. Variables whose scope is visible to complete file including all functions in that file is known as global variable. Global variables are not created inside the function. Now look into indentation. The indentation in Python is very important. Indentation used to indicate a block of code. Python does not use braces like C, C++ or Java to indicate blocks of code. Blocks of code are denoted by line indentation. All statements within the block must be indented the same amount of spaces. Let us look into examples. Here is the single line statement and multi-line statement. Block of code are defined by indentation. Indenting starts a block and unindenting ends it. No need for explicit braces or brackets or keywords. Whitespace is significant. Code blocks are started by A. Comments. Comments start with hash. Python interpreter will ignore them from execution. Comments can be used to explain Python code. Comments can be used to make the code more readable. Python supports multi-line comments enclosed with 3 quotes. This is the example. Python literals. Python literals are data types can hold any data you would need. Types of literals: string, numeric, bool, none, collections. Let us go through Python data types. Data types are the classification of data items. It represents the kind of value that holds. Data types determines the amount of memory that can be allocated to store the value. Here are the data types: none, numeric, dictionary, boolean, set, sequence type. Under numeric, we have integer, float, complex, octa, hexadecimal. Under sequence type, string, list, tuple. The container data types are list, tuple, set, dict. The user-defined data types are class. Data types: int, float, complex, bool, set, dictionary, string, list, tuple. Integer holds whole numbers such as 10, 25, 100. Float holds numbers with decimal points. Complex holds complex numbers, real part plus imaginary part. Boolean is a logical value, indicates true or false. Sets holds unordered collection of unique objects. Dictionary holds unordered key value pairs. String holds ordered sequence of characters. List holds ordered sequence of objects. Tuple holds ordered immutable of sequence objects. Why Python is dynamic typed language? Because no need to declare variables as a specific type. A variable's type is dynamic and will change whenever it is reassigned. Everything in Python is an object. Need to assign or initialize variables. Use of uninitialized variable raises exception. Here is an example. No need to declare the type of the variable. Based on the context, interpreter assigns the data type to a variable at runtime depending on its value. Let us look into Python typecasting. Typecasting is used to convert one variable's data type into another data type. These conversions can be implicit, explicit. Implicit, automatically interpreted. Explicit, using built-in functions. Int, float, string. Int takes float or string as an input and returns int type object. Float takes int or string as an input, returns float type object. String takes float or int as an input, returns string type object. Here is an example. We have 100.50 is a float value, typecast to int to convert float value into integer. Here, integer value converts into float, we get float value. In string value, 25 is an integer value, gets converted to string, we get string value. Let us look into ordered, immutable, iterable, duplicates. Collections are generic name for container types. Sequence is a generic name given to ordered collection. Iterable means collection that can iterated over using loop. Immutable means unchangeable collection. Mutable means changeable collection. Ordered collection means elements stored in the same order in which they are inserted. Unordered collection means elements are not stored in the same order in which they are inserted. String, ordered collection, immutable, iterable, allowed duplicate members. List, ordered collection, mutable, iterable, allowed duplicate members. Tuple, ordered collection, immutable, iterable, allowed duplicate members. Set, unordered collection, immutable, iterable, no duplicate members. Dictionary, no ordered collection, mutable, iterable, no duplicate members. Let us coming to quiz. What does hash symbol do in Python? Hash is used to comment the line. If comment starts with hash, Python interpreter will ignore them from execution. Comments can be used to make the code more readable. What are the rules for creating Python identifier? Here are the answers.